Hello and welcome to the tutorial on robotic process automation using UiPath. So in this session, we will consider an example to build a workflow using .tostring method that converts an integer to a string. Initially, in this workflow, we will try to read the name and the age of the user, and then we will try to get the year of the birth of the user, and then we will try to represent the same thing by making use of .tostring method, which will convert the integer to a string. So let us jump into our UiPath Studio software and let us create a new flowchart here, and let us give it a name as, say, string conversion, and say create. So once we are ready with the designer panel, we have the start activity being added here by default, and the first activity that we will be adding here is the input dialog, so that we can read the input from the user. So the first input is for reading the name of the user, and then we will make use of one more input dialog after this, so that we can read the age of the user. I'll just rename them. And before proceeding with these things, let us create the variables required for this particular workflow. So the first variable that we are going to create here is the name variable, and it is of type string. And one more variable that we need here is the age variable, and we will change the variable type to int32, and we need one more variable called as birth year, so that we can represent it in the message box at the end. So we will again change the variable type to int32. So these are the three variables that we need for building up this workflow. So once we read the name from the user, we will try to store it in the name variable that we have created. So in the properties panel at the output section, I'll use the same variable that I've created, say name. And for the age input dialog, the output will be stored in the age variable that we have created earlier, so that we will represent it in the properties panel. So now we will try to enter into these input dialog boxes and try to represent the informations. So in the title, we'll say name, and in the label, we will say enter your name. Okay. So in the second input dialog, we'll give a title as age, and in the label we will say enter your age. Okay, so we have read two informations from the user, and then we have stored it in the variables. Now the next task is to find out the birth year. So for that, we will make use of a simple assign activity here, and we will make use of the UiPath methodology in order to get the birth year. So in order to get the birth year, we will make use of the current year minus the age that we have read from the user. So in the VB section, VB expression, we'll try to add the current year using System.DateTime.Now.Year. So by making use of this, we will try to get the current year. So for that, we will subtract it using the age that we have read from the user. And now we will assign that to the birth year that we have created again in the variables panel. So this is how we try to get the birth year of the user. So now the next task is to display it using a simple message box. So that I'll drag and drop it here in the designer panel, and in the message box I'll try to represent the text as hi along with the name of the user, and then we will concatenate it again with the help of plus symbol, and we'll say your birth year is, say, birth year. So just making use of birth year will not be sufficient because it will give you an error, because it is in the format of integer, so that we need to convert it into string. So for that we'll make use of .ToString method, which will convert it from integer to string. So fine, so it has converted it into string. So we'll come back to our workflow. So this is it. We'll try to run this workflow now. So now it has started the debugging and it has started the execution. So initially it will ask for the name of the user. So here we will give it as Saroj and say OK, and let us input the age as 25 and press OK. So now it will give you a message saying, hi Saroj, your birth year is 1996. So this is how we make use of System.DateTime.Now.Year for getting the current year, and we'll make use of .ToString method to convert the integer to a string. Thank you for watching.